Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm AK Lee, romance writer, identical triplet and amateur love guru. I'm talking to you today about how can I get ideas for stories, because a lot of up-and-coming writers, this is a common question I hear from up-and-coming aspiring writers, like where do you get your ideas and how can I get ideas for stories? So I thought I'd share the experiences I have had with how I have come up with ideas for the stories I have written. So if you've watched my other videos, then you'd be aware that my first book, See Her Run, came about due to a series of dreams I had, and it was also easier to write than I would have thought just from a dream, because it came from personal experience as well, because it's got a domestic violence theme. And if you've watched other videos of mine, you would know the connection there. So See Her Run came about through a series of dreams, and the next story I wrote was To Catch a Christmas Thief, and that came about one time when I was watching an old black and white horror movie called Cat People. And if you want to look that up, it has Joan Fontaine in it. It's a really good cheesy horror movie, and I love those. And I was watching that one night, and the idea for To Catch a Christmas Thief came to me. So as you can see, inspiration for ideas can come through a variety of sources. My next story was The Venus Cure, and that one came about because my brother sent me a podcast about Venus flytraps and how they're becoming extinct due to poaching. Yeah, it's actually a thing. So he sent me this podcast, and as I was listening to this podcast, an idea for a story based on a hero and heroine who were working to fight poachers came to my mind, and by the end of the podcast I had the whole outline for the story. So lots of different ways already that I've come up with ideas for stories, and these are the things I want to show you, that inspiration and story ideas can literally come from anywhere and just through everyday activities that you're doing. Now, the next story that I wrote was Crave Her Touch, which is book 2 in the Smithfield series. See Her Run is the first book, so it was the sequel to See Her Run is Crave Her Touch. And the idea for that one came about as I was writing See Her Run. One of the secondary characters in See Her Run, called Jenny, her story was coming to me, and her background story was coming to me as I was writing See Her Run. And has at least one other story come in that series. There will be at least one more in the Smithfield series, possibly 4. There's another idea that has come to me as I was writing Crave Her Touch. The idea for a 4th story has sort of weaved its way. I haven't got the full story for that yet, so I don't know if that's going to lead anywhere at this stage, but there'll be at least 3 books in the Smithfield series. So yes, Crave Her Touch came about as I was writing See Her Run. The story for Jenny came to me. And that leads me to my current book, which is Triple Threat. Now, if you've watched my other videos and know me on social media and the way that I've introduced myself, you already know I'm an identical triplet, and Triple Threat, which is part of the Faris Triplet series, is based on identical triplets. And you may think, oh, well, that's where she got that idea from, but that's not actually how it happened. I just was sitting, not doing anything spectacular one day, and this sentence popped into my head, and that sentence was the Faris sisters were back in business. And I knew straight away that it was an identical triplet based story, but I had nothing more than that, other than I knew there was going to be 3 separate books, but that was really it. Oh, and I knew they were crime fighters. And it wasn't until I was watching some news footage of a famous murder case in Australia, and that's when the whole plot came to me, and I knew how each of the 3 books was going to come about. So as you can see, there's so many different ways: news stories, dreams, just vague sentences coming to your head, and inspiration through writing stories brings you ideas as well. And finally, that brings me to The $1 Million Secret, which is my release coming out on November 16th, 2017. That's this year. So only a couple more months, and that's my latest novel that will be out, The $1 Million Secret. Now, that one was an interesting one, the idea for that one. I had entered See Her Run into an Australian Romance Writers of Australia competition where you could win a mentorship for a year with a famous Australian romance writer. And as I was entering that, I was overcome with this thing that I call author's doubt. You've probably seen that in some of my other videos too. And, you know, as I was worrying about that and entering to See Her Run into this competition, an idea for a story based on a heroine who suffered from author's doubt and who entered and won a mentorship with America's most famous romance writer came to me. So that sums up all of that. That's how all of my ideas have come to me, a variety of ways. There's not just one way that an idea can come to you, and that's why I say to people that you should go out and live and experience life and just pay attention to everything around you and what you're experiencing, because this is how your ideas are going to come to you. There's so many different ways, from dreams to random inspiration to watching a movie or reading another book. It will give you an idea for a story. There's so many different ways to get ideas for stories, and I've just told you about 6 books that I've written, and they've all come about in different ways. So go out there and pay attention to everything that's going on around you, and I hope this inspires you to get more ideas for your stories. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can stay up to date with all of my videos, and I'll post all my social media and book links below. Thanks again for watching. Bye!